If anything, the center ground is shifting further to the right. So one could say, well, if Modi or BJP is in coalition, then they will moderate, if not, not. The way I would say is, there's a specific phenomenon, RSS and BJP, they're not normal party, especially BJP, it's not a normal party. It's not a normal party that believes in the game of democracy, that believes in the fundamentals of democracy, that they have to compete, sometimes win, sometimes lose, but accept the verdict. It comes from RSS, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which of course is an extremist, but not an extremist only, it's a proper fascist organization. It's a fascist organization because based on fantasy of a nation that does not exist. It's based on fantasy of a majoritarian nation that they seek to create. But that fantasy of majoritarian nation can only function in opposition to minorities and enemies. So who are the enemies? In my own book, Hindu National India and Politics of Fear, I looked at it, and sometimes I feel sad, but I always say, I told you so to my friends. Because when I did research, that was 2005-06. This is when the BJP had lost its election. The Congress was in power and they were quite low in terms of mood and everything. And that's the time I had done research with RSS, Bajrang and VHP. So these were the main organizations I spent time with. I did not spend much time with BJP. I was more interested in RSS, Bajrang and VHP. In the sense, so my work was based on that. And a lot of things such as love jihad, which we hear of now, or all those things, that send them to Pakistan, or we want Akhand Bharat, a unified India. All those fantasies are very much there, including a fantasy / fear of Mughalistan, that there will be an entire Muslim area that will form from Bangladesh to central India, North India, UP, Bihar, up to Pakistan, and India would be divided. The whole idea of balkanization of India. These fantasies are very much present then and there also. So what is happening now, of course, is we watch it and witness it in mainstream media, what they were already talking about. Now, so in that context, what the way they would see is, of course, the biggest enemies are the Muslims, then the Christians, then the communists. These three are confirmed enemies. And then the secularists. So secularists would be the self-hating Hindus, who of course are self-hating, but also opportunists. Means, if Hindus mobilize, then those self-hating Hindus will start supporting Hindu nationalism. If Hindus are divided the way they are, apparently, then they would not support. They'll support minorities, minority appeasement. And the fifth enemy they will talk about then was westernized media. And I always say that, if you've heard me before, I'll say that they don't talk of media anymore. Because media is no longer the enemy. They're very much ally of Hindutva, right? So you have got four enemies in that sense. You've got the Muslims, Christians, all Christians, all communists, and then the secularists, right? So these four are the main enemies. So the reason I said RSS is fascism, of course, is because if you remember the examples of fascism, you've studied fascism, you know that it is about a form of nationalism which claims to speak for the majority, then demonizes the minority, but it's not enough to demonize the minority, it's also important to exterminate and expel the minority. First you start with expulsion, so the whole notion of Musalman ke do Histan, Pakistani or Kabristan. So there are two places, the slogan got from them, there are two places, either Pakistan or Kabristan, so the symmetry. Now, of course, would say, but they have not killed so many Muslims so far. Yeah, they killed 1,000 here, a couple of people here, there, 40, 50 people each, but that's not mass killing. But the fact of the matter, if you take example of the ways in which since 2014, and 2014 is a good example, what's happening is, there's a practical de facto disenfranchisement of all Muslims. Means, there is a political party that comes to power with full majority without having a single elected Muslim MP. It essentially indicates that you don't need 13 to 14% minority to come to power, right? So they have done that already. Now, so people focus on, let's say, round temple. In 2014, the focus was, Modi wants development. He's not really into RSS. RSS is he has to flirt with it because of various reasons. But in reality, of course, he's going to be, I would say, he would not be wearing kachis, the saffron shorts that they wear. They may wear Gucci or Prada or something else inside, but they would be modernized. There was a lot of focus on that. And the news stories would often talk about how RSS and Modi have some tensions. The reality, since he came to power, there's no evidence of any tension. But don't be surprised if some tension is manufactured for the time being. Right? Now, in this case, Ram Temple also, the idea is, it's a passe. Why do you need Ram Temple when you have got Modi providing temple to everyone, and that's temple of development, that doesn't function. And what you find, of course, is focus once again on Ram Temple. The reason they, of course, do Ram Temple is because they need it. Because the entire political logic of Hindutva, Hindu national India for the last 30 years, was built around that temple. So I remember asking this is the man who was in charge of Ram Janmabhoomi, the movement. I said, so what if we actually get the temple? He said, it's not enough, we need 3. Remember Kashi, Mathura and Vana. I said, fine, what if we get all 3? Then what do you do? No, we need 78,000. I don't know what that figure was, around 78,000 temples that were there and they were destroyed by mob and they built the mosque. We need all of them. So bear in mind that if the temple movement is not about a temple. Temple movement is about the whole idea of awakening of the Hindu nation. So in Hindutva imagination, there were 3 times now when Hindu nation has been awakened. Right? So one was destruction of Babri Masjid. It's about awakening. Second was Gujarat, 2002. The killing of Mandar is awakening. And third, winning the victory of Modi. That was the awakening. Right? So they talk of awakening language. If you look at the pamphlets they produce, everything, they would always be about arousal, about awakening, and about, now let's come together, we'll come together and do something about it. Right? But they cannot function without enemy. And this is why violence is integral to Hindu nationalism. Without violence, of course, imagination is important, representations are important, demonization is important, but none of that will function without violence. And this is why if you take example of around cow lynching or attacks on various people or verbal attack, physical attack, it is always a violent language. Right? So now, of course, in recent times, apart from Ram Temple, they have also again started using Kashmir. Once PDP, they dispose it off and they started using Kashmir. I'll leave it for that, maybe for other speakers to speak of or during question answer. But the fact of the matter is, even if BJP got what it claims it wants, there's a logic to fascism where it cannot end until and unless all the enemies are exterminated. Right? And this is what we bear in mind. So the election we are facing in 2019 is not simply about BJP as a party that may or may not win. And it's very much about transforming the common sense of Indian public. And that common sense that has to be shifted is along those lines, that it's okay to say to a Muslim, it's okay to kill a Muslim on the grounds that they may have eaten beef. It's okay to bully a couple, let's say we are talking of heterosexual couple in this context, but a couple on the grounds of love jihad. It's okay to beat up any Kashmiri Muslim you find anywhere in India. It's okay to call for genocide of all Kashmiri Muslims online. Now, of course, offline they'll try, but at least online they will say it. It's okay to abuse every single opponent of Narendra Modi and BJP as anti-national. And this was it fascism. I mean, we don't need to use the word populism. Academically, we use the populism. It's quite, attractive. But I would say it's quite depoliticizing this whole concept of populism. It is full-fledged fascism because at its heart lies the fundamental anti-democratic, anti-minority of course, but also anti-democratic ideology that this is only we who decide what kind of nation we live in, and if you don't like it, get out of it or get killed or be ready to face all kinds of violence. So on that note, I'll end. Thank you.